What's up, guys? This is Theo here coming to you live with another coding tutorial. Today we are on part 4 of Introduction to ReactJS with CodeCademy. So I'm going to complete the lesson Components in Advanced JSX. Apply your knowledge of JSX to React components. So let's get started. Click on the link and it looks like it has a total of 7 sections. So let's get to it. It says, in this lesson, you will learn some common ways that JSX and React components work together. You'll get more comfortable with both JSX and components while picking up some new tricks. So it says take a look at the HTML. So pretty easy HTML looks like. How might you make a React component that renders this HTML? Select quotemaker.js to see one way of doing it. So it looks like it creates a class, has a render method, and inside of the return it embeds this HTML. So here's another quote formatted in the same way. In app.js, write a React component that renders this HTML. So we'll just say var quoter equals React. The method is create. Is it create class? Let me make sure I get the syntax correct. Create class, and then we'll pass it an object, which will just be we'll have a return on it. Yeah. Well, never mind. It's going to have a render method, and this is going to be a function which is going to render out this HTML. So we'll say return, and then inside of here we'll put this. Cool. And then do react dom.render, react dom.render, and we'll say quoter, and then we'll pass it in document.get element by ID, and pass it app. And then the last thing we need to do is up at the top, we need to require React equals require React, and then var, what else do we need to require? React DOM, require React DOM. Make sure I got this right. React DOM. Let's run it. See if this works. Should work. Any day now. What does it say? What is my error? I'm not sure what error it's giving me. Render function, return. Do I need to close that off or something? Trying to see what I did wrong. Remember to react dom.render, quoter, document.get element by ID, app. I'm not sure what I did wrong. Let's think. Turn. Let me see. So we have quoter, react.create class, and then let me see, quoter, document.get element by ID. I'm not sure why it's giving me an error though. I'd like to actually know some information. This is frustrating. Use quotemaker.js as a guide. Quotemaker, render, function, return. Oh, okay. I understand now. I gotta call it quoter. Like that. I think we just need, yeah, we can just do it like this. We can do quoter, and then we should be able to do it. So I was trying to pass the literal, but you have to pass it as like a HTML tag, I guess. Still not a big fan of it. Really like Angular a lot more, but whatever. Let's move on. Take a look at this JavaScript object named Red Panda. Okay, how could you render a React component and get a picture with Red Panda's properties? Select Red Panda JS to see it. Let's look at it. It's rendering it, and it's just binding. Okay, pretty simple stuff. So select app.js on lines 1 and 2. Let's import this stuff. I don't really want to type that out, so let's grab that. Get React and DOM. So let's run that so we can get past part 1. Alright, cool. On line 10, declare a new variable named al. Var al set equal to react.create class, and then inside of here we are going to pass in a render, which is going to be a function, which is going to return let's see, it's going to return a div, and it should contain a render function that returns a div. It should work for that. Let's make sure it does. Okay, cool. Nest an h1 inside of the div. Remember the overarching theme that everything has to be has to have a like a central or a sort of nucleus like div on the very outside. Inside of the h1, put the al.title. So we'll do al.title. Okay, and then that looks good. Let's see what's up next. Let's see if we get that one right. Okay, we got that right. And it says, still inside of the div, make a new line after the h1. Okay, and we're going to add an image. Image should have a source of al.source and an alternative text of al.title. So let's run that. That should work. Let's see if it does. Cool. And last thing, at the very bottom, we want to render out our directive. So we'll say react dom.render, and then we'll pass it al. And we don't need that. It's self-closing, and we'll do document.get elements by ID, and we'll pass it app. And let's run this, and that should allow us to move on. So let's see. Cool, so we rendered our al. Awesome, let's move on. Render function must have a return statement. However, that isn't all that it can have. Render function can also be a fine place to put simple calculations. Okay, so you can do data binding within the render. Watch out for this common mistake. Number is n. Should be in the render function. Okay. So let's make a render function on lines 1 and 2. Let's import. Alright, var react. Require react. Var react dom equals require react dom. Okay, we loaded in those modules. Let's run this. Yeah, that's a lot of instructions for one. Okay, on line 20, declare a new variable called friend, var friend. We'll create a class. We'll say react dom.create class. Pass it an object, and or just react.create class. Pass an object. Give this object. So we'll say render function return, and then what are we going to give it? Make the properties value return. Let's say div, and then it looks like at the very bottom here that should work. Let's see if that works. Okay, cool. Inside the body of the render function before the return statement, var friend equal to either friends. We'll do friend 0, so we're just setting it equal to this first index of the array. Okay, so this is like a local variable at this point. Let's see, okay, that's good. Inside the return statement, inside the div, write a nested h1. Okay, pretty easy. And then we'll just say friend.title, so we have access to it. And this should spit out, hey guys, wait up. Looks like, or yum, sorry. Yeah. Still inside the div, make a new line after the h1, write an image tag. Looks like we're just gonna bind source to friend.source. Okay, let's run that. Should work. Looks like we're just gonna render it out to react.dom.render. Did that work? Yep. And then we'll render friend. I don't know why it tries to autocomplete if it always wants me to do that, but okay. Document.get element by ID app. And let's render it. Let's see if this works. Cool. Let's move on. How might you use a conditional statement inside of a render function? Select today's plan.js to see one way of doing it. Okay, our task. Today I'm going to, okay, so you're just evaluating it with the local variable and binding it in the return statement. Select app.js, you can see a variable named 5050. 5050 will equal true half the time. Starting on line 7, write a new component class named tonight's plan. Var tonight's plan equals react.create class, function which takes an object, and then it has a render method, which is a function which will return multi-line templating. If 5050 is true, let's see how they do it. Write a new component. If 5050 is true, then tonight's plan should 5050 use today's plan as a guide. Okay, so it's true. Then tonight's plan should render the element. So it looks like we'll create a variable called var plan equals var plan, and we'll say if 5050, what is it? 5050, okay. If 5050, then we'll say what are we saying? Plan equals else plan equals, so that's how they did it, right? And then we'll say tonight I'm going to bed, return what are we just returning? We're just returning the plan, I guess. Return plan. And then, is that all? Let me make sure that's it for that. Ah, shit. Spelled it wrong, sorry. 5050. It's gonna give me an error now. Let's try that again. 5050. Okay, cool. To render an instance, so let's render it out. So we'll say react dom.render. What are we gonna say? What is it called? Tonight's plan. And then we will pass it document.get element by ID. Pass it app. And this should render out whatever the result of this is. Let's try it out. See what we get. So now I'm going to bed. Woo. Okay, cool. 5. The word this The word this gets used in React a lot. You're especially likely to see this inside of an object that is being passed to React.createClass. Here's an example. So the this just refers to everything that's within this scope. This refers to instructions objects. The instructions object being passed to React.createClass, to properties, food, and render. Okay, makes sense. On line 6, add a new property. Your new name property should have a name of name. So var name equals, or sorry, just name, I guess. Name equals Theo, and then okay, let's make sure this runs. So that's the key, that's the value. Inside of the render function, let's render it. So we'll say my name is, and then we'll say this dot name. So it should say my name is Theo. To make sure it works. Looks like it got rendered correctly. So let's see if this gives us, why is it saying that? My name is, oh, I guess I need the period. Alright, cool. Moving on, 6. Render functions often contain event listeners. Here's an example of an event listener in a render function. So it binds the onHover to this function. Okay. Got it. In app.js, find the button inside of the render function. Give this button an onClick attribute. So we'll say onClick. This attribute's value should have a screen function, so we bind it to this dot screen. Do I have to invoke it too? Let me look. No. Okay, so let's try it out. So this should now say on click. Let's make sure it actually is indeed binding it. And then we have to render it. So we'll say React DOM.render, and then we'll render button. And then we will pass it, the second argument we will pass it is document.get element by ID app. Make sure this renders out correctly. And then it looks like it works, so now it should alert. And to prove it's working, say hello. We can render this out again. It should say hello. Cool. Final one, congratulations, you have finished the unit on React components. React components are complicated. Their syntax is complicated, and the reason behind their syntax is especially complicated. You've learned a lot. You've learned about React.createClass. You've learned about how to require, how to render a component instance. You've been introduced to some ways of using JSX and React components. You have rendered components using multi-line JSX expressions, logic inside of the render function, a conditional statement, this, and an event listener. You spent a lot of time studying React components in isolation. Now it's time to start learning how components fit into the world around them. So it looks like up next is components render other components. So we will do that in the next video, learn how and why components render other components. So that's it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Give me some feedback. Always appreciate it. Always appreciate the subscribing. Let's keep it coming. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day.